Momo haere mai e te whānau. Welcome to the Flood of the Next podcast. My name's Holly. I'm on Gadigal land in Sydney, as is Danny Avis. In Te Whanganui Aotearoa Wellington, we have Alex, and Erin is in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland. Well, we had a pretty full-on weekend of matches just been. We will start with the men's match. That was against Jaffa FC in Auckland. We lost 2-1 with a goal to Costa Barbarouses. Who wants to start? I think Danny wants to start. He used the word rant in our chat earlier today when we were planning our pod. So, Danny, get started.
Oh, it's not really a rant any more than usually I rant. I guess I wanted to say, look, coming away from the feeling is of deep frustration and disappointment because we lost. But trying to get beyond that, I really enjoyed this football match in the weird football supporting way of being frustrated and anxious and pissed off for 90 minutes and coming away totally disappointed. But all that, I really enjoyed it. It was a great game of football. I know the commentators of Paramount Plus thought it was a bit of a dirge. I really enjoyed all of it. We lost. We were well beaten, I thought, which is disappointing. But all in all, and I'm sure Alex and Eric can talk about the actual occasion, but certainly even on TV, I just really enjoyed the match. Proper derby, very physical, two good teams, very little between them, having a real go. And, we came out second best, but it was a good football match, I think, all in all. I guess, disappointment for us because we lost and I think we were well beaten. Auckland were clearly the better side. We didn't create enough going forward and we made two pretty bad mistakes, which led to 2 goals for them. I think what everybody predicted, or I think what everyone thought beforehand sort of came true. Auckland aren't really that good going forward. When they've been scoring, it's been last minute or own goals or mistakes from other teams. We saw it in the last derby as well. But they're very good at the back and they shut up shop and it's very hard to break them down. And we certainly didn't do that very well. We had, I think, 6 shots, 3 of them on target, something like that, which is not a lot over 90 minutes, especially at the end when we were really pushing forward. And I know Chiefy says that our attacking moments will come from the process of how we play, but we didn't really create that many at all. So the process wasn't happening for lots of reasons, I think, primarily because they were very good defensively. They really closed down Barbarouses and they pushed him back so far that he ended up picking up the ball sort of in our half or on the halfway line. He had to come that far back to actually get hold of the ball. And when he did that, there's no one else further forward than him. So, even if we had the ball and we were in a bit of space, we had nothing to really go forward on, except on the odd occasion. So they did very well in that respect. Our wing-backs didn't really do anything. So Sutton on the left and Payne on the right, they were closed down. And I think it was a bit of Rogerson and De Vries as well. We closed them down, they closed us down. Neither team sort of managed to get their wing-backs into the game. And I think Chiefy must have seen this because he put Payne up front in the second half, which is really quite bizarre. But I think that was okay. If Barbarouses is being played out of the game, let's stick someone up there to keep their centre-backs busy a bit, and then maybe Barbarouses can pick up the ball with a bit more space. Which, I'm not saying it worked when Payne was there, sort of worked in the end when they were pushing forward. So, disappointing game. They were better than us. I think Corica outfought Chiefy, which is a bit annoying, and maybe we could talk about the various post and pre-match pronouncements by both coaches later. But all in all, a really enjoyable football match. I really liked the spirit it was played in and that it was just on the edge of niggle, just on the edge of breaking out, which is sort of what you want a derby to be like. I thought we fought well. They maybe fought a little bit harder than us in midfield physically. And they won. It's annoying, but I don't think we played particularly badly. I just think we were beaten by a slightly better side on the day. I'm not saying over the season, I'm saying on the day.
Yeah, to be honest, I think our defence didn't have the best game. I was watching the highlights back earlier, and that kind of shot that I think it's Gallegos had in the first half. I got a screenshot of our defence, and we were pretty much just all in the same position. Like our 3 centre backs were marking the same person, And then I think it was Ishige and Nagasawa were over on the right somewhere, just doing nothing. And then Gallegos drifted in back post, kind of unnoticed. Luckily, he didn't score, and it wasn't the best finish. But I think Auckland have kind of been capitalising off stuff like that kind of all season. And usually when they do get in those positions, they're really, really clinical. Even with the own goal, it was good work to get in there. Hirosaka is a great run from him. I guess the only thing is Hughes needs to be facing away from the goal, not to the goal, because if you're facing to the goal, you're always going to hit it in, aren't you? Or at least you're going to get bloody close. The second goal, I think Oluwayemi, there's a bit of indecision in the penalty area. Kind of Sutton, Oluwayemi were tossing up who to go for it, and then eventually none of them went for it, and we conceded a goal. The one thing I kind of want to talk about is not what happened on the ball, but what happened off the ball by Auckland FC. And there was a lot of time wasting and kind of getting in our heads, and I think that kind of ultimately made the difference in the end. With the first goal, we were well in charge before we conceded the goal, especially after Vestrada took off for Cameron Harris, and we were in control. We were cruising forward. We looked dangerous every time we got the ball, and I think Alex Paulson recognised that, and he started diving, started tripping on the soil, whatever, and that kind of frustrates our team, and it swings the momentum back in their favour, and then they scored directly from that. And then the second goal, again, Auckland just decided to take a drinks break or something. They did not need a drinks break. It wasn't that hot. And they score directly from it. So I think there's a bit of frustration in there, and they were kind of using the dark arts. I would have hoped that the referee would have managed that somewhat better. Usually the referees are pretty good at managing that stuff. They weren't today. I mean, I know there's heaps of drinks breaks in Australia, but we definitely don't need them here in New Zealand. It was like, I don't know how hot it was. Not that hot at all. They did not need it at all. So I think the ref kind of needed to do a bit more in managing the game. There's a lot of unhappiness and the fever about it too.
Yeah, I would like to draw attention to the chance that we had where I think Sutton dribbled through about three of their players, took a shot, Paulson parried it away, and all Sheridan had to do was put any kind of force onto it, and basically anywhere but this tiny space, and he managed to just scuff it right into Alex Paulson. And I think that was a pivotal moment in the game. I think if we had scored there, momentum would have shifted massively in our favour, and we could have come through and gotten a point from this game. I think Chiefy was right to say at the end that if there was maybe another 5 more minutes, we could have, taken something from it. And there probably should have been more extra time for the amount of time Paulson was on the ground. But it just unfortunately wasn't meant to be. And I think that, we stopped playing our game halfway through there. We're usually really patient on the ball. We play it around until something happens. But near the end, it was just throwing in crosses that were going straight out for goal kicks, playing short balls from the back when there wasn't that much time left. They have Tommy Smith on, putting anything near that, any through ball through, and any of our players would be able to beat him. I think the decision making near the end was a bit poor, and we need to be better at kind of closing out games and trying to fight back for these points. I would like to point out Marco Rojas, though. I think that he was an excellent sub to come on. I think that when he came on, he was showing a lot of energy, and he was doing a lot of good work, and I felt a bit more confident that we could actually achieve something when he came on, because he was winning the ball and doing something with it. So maybe if we could see him earlier on in the games, or maybe he can get a start. I'm not sure if I really recall Polo Retro doing much this game. To be fair, I did show up a bit late, so maybe he did all of his work in the first 10 minutes and then just sat back and did nothing the rest of it. But don't think that it was our best game, and hopefully the next time we play them we can get a win.
Do feel like we played poorly. To be fair, we made a lot of mistakes. I think there were a lot of unforced errors, and especially with passes, the amount of passes that we overhit or underhit, or it was really, I'm not sure what our pass completion rate was. It seemed really poor to me. Costa had a lot of really poor passes, and at one point I had written in the little corner of yellow group chat, I'm like, he's not having a very good game, take him off, he's not having a very good game today, nothing against him. And then when he scored that goal, which we haven't really talked about yet, I'm like, I'm eating my words, they're very delicious, my delicious words, because he was the one that put it away. But otherwise, I think that we did play poorly. I think it's not just those two mistakes defensively, putting the ball into the back of your own net. I think own goal is one of the top scorers for Auckland at the moment. The defending, the decision making in that corner was it was really poor. That it seems like Joshy was going to come out and get it, and then of course I think that's why the two defenders just sort of pulled back a little bit instead of really powering for the ball, because he had started to come for it. I don't know, big miscommunication at the back. I think it was a very frustrating game. It was very physical. There was, at one point, looked like there was going to be an all-in when, I can't remember, someone flopped over on the ball, an Auckland player, and Roos was close to borderline kicking him, and potentially could have had a red card, which thankfully he didn't, because he got the assist or the pre-assist for the Costa goal. So I'm glad we scored against them. I'm glad it was us. It's the first goal that's ever been scored against them, but it was frustrating, and I think we were just outplayed, and some of it was the dark arts, but a lot of it was us as well, and just not making good decisions. We get one more crack at them next year. We get one more crack at them. Danny, it looked like you had something to say.
Yeah, I agree with you. Our passing wasn't as good. The pass percentage was 73%. We normally sit around 85%, so it was definitely short. Why that was, I'm not sure. Chiefy said something in the post-game conference about the grass being too dry and only being watered once, and so the passes were getting a bit sticky. And he complained about that in the Unite round as well. So I was wondering whether, and because I saw that as well, watching on TV, I thought it seems like the pitch from last week's a bit sticky. The little short passes that we rely on, little quick ones, often weren't getting there. And I was wondering if Auckland had done that on purpose, which would have been pretty smart and probably not beyond them. But then Tommy Smith was complaining about it as well. He was saying, the pitch was too dry and the passes weren't going. So maybe I'm giving them too much credit. I do think that our transition is just too slow. Our transition to attack was just too slow. We generally try the little balls in midfield, and then when someone's got a bit of space, that's when we transition and go forward. But I found we just weren't doing that quickly enough, and Nagasawa, I thought, was a big culprit in this. He would get the ball, and suddenly he'd have a little bit of space because we've done some nice little triangles. And instead of getting it forward really quickly to normally Barbarouses or maybe Ishiga or into a space in the wing, he was looking around for someone else a bit closer. There's I thought some poor decision making there. I thought Sutton and Ishiga didn't work very well together on the left. Again, passing into space when they weren't there or not getting a pass there. I thought Sutton generally had not one of his better games, should we say. And I was crying out for a Ben Old, because Ben Old would pick the ball up deep and just run straight at them. And it immediately turns their entire midfield and defence onto the back foot. They're immediately running backwards. Which then opens up other people to get away from their marker into space, because obviously everyone's watching Ben Old. And we don't have anyone like that. I mean, maybe Rojas can go into that role, but I thought I would have loved to have seen someone like that do it, because we were trying to work through their press somewhere sort of, within the halfway. And then if we did get the space, then we didn't really know what to do. And then their defence was really well structured and was sitting there. The only times we did do it was when Rue, for occasion, would put an early ball through over the top to Barbarouses, which is how the goal came about in the end. He put a really, really nice ball through and behind their defence, and Barbarouses ran onto it. And that was one of the few times that we moved really quickly from our half to their half. Other than that, I thought we were just doing it too slowly. We're giving them too much time to look around and set their defence back up as well. You mentioned the Roof and Toomey thing, which is when Toomey went down over the ball and Roof gave him a couple of kicks, basically at the ball, I'm sure, but really into his ribs. And look, it's not something you want to see, but I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. And I've never seen a player hardly ever represent the way I was feeling at that particular time in the match, just the frustration. And he just kicking on Toomey is the person to kick if you're going to kick someone on Auckland side. It was really good to see. I really enjoyed it. Possibly could have got a red card. I'm glad he didn't, because if he'd have got a red card and only got 2 kicks in, that would have been seen a bit of a whack.
I just want to draw attention to the matchday experience, because this is my first time at Mount Smart, I think. All the other games we played in Auckland have been at Eden Park. And it was a bit of a mixed bag. It started off not best. The Yellow Fever March was kind of cut short, and one of the Foster Crescent crew got on their PA voice and pretty much yelled to everyone. I don't know if they could hear him at the back, but he told us to go in a single file line when we were marching up to the gates, because they had a ticketing fault, so we couldn't go through the normal gates. And so they actually gave us the VIP entrance, which credit to them, thinking fast on their feet. I think it was the VIP experience. That's what they said. Didn't look very fancy at all. It was just kind of a back door. But anyway, we got in. There were like 2 people scanning tickets. It was taking ages to scan the tickets. We were probably waiting. So once we got in the stadium, we were probably waiting for about 20 minutes for the rest of the Yellow Fever to get in, so we could march to our seats together. Not ideal, but we all got in before the first whistle. And I think during the game, it was actually a really good experience. Mount Smart is a brilliant stadium. Like the slide, kind of how you can go down the bottom, walk around, so much better than Sky Stadium. It's such a pain. I never actually realised that until I've been to, better stadiums like Porirua Park, even though it's not that big, and Mount Smart, how bad Sky Stadium is for matchday experience. They had a few artists before the game, which, as a whole, I'm kind of for, because I think that for the neutrals at a football game, it's kind of hard to stay focused, especially if the Aucklanders. But the artists that they had weren't, I don't know who they were, to be honest, and they were kind of getting overshadowed by the crowd. The crowd did not seem very interested. As a whole, I'm into artists and pre-match entertainment at halftime and stuff, but I don't think it was done that well. They also had fireworks, but the crowd wasn't that into them. I'm sure some people were, but the artists were getting sung over by the Port and the Yellow Fever.
Alex, can you mention, because we were talking about the crowd and the attendance figure, which obviously they've came out with saying it was one more than the derby that we played in Wellington, which obviously was absolute bollocks. And certainly at the start of the game, it looked like there was a lot of empty seats. I think they seemed to fill up a bit later, but from someone being in the stadium, were there as many empty seats as they looked on TV?
Well, there were empty seats. There wasn't 25,233 or whatever, how many seats they said there were. There were not that many people there. I think they've just put out the number of tickets they sold, which no other club does. But for some reason, it's okay for Auckland to do, and that's going to go in the history books as the biggest crowd in New Zealand, which, we can't really do anything about it, but we'll always know we got the biggest crowd. There were empty seats, but I think what kind of makes it look worse is there were people kind of standing on the concourse, and people going down the slides, maybe people out the back getting food, which always makes it look like there's more empty seats. I don't think there were as many empty seats as it looks. It was definitely very, very close to a sellout, or it was a sellout, but it was very close to a full house. It wasn't there. They obviously lied about the match figure, but credit to them getting that many people to a football game.
I mean, I appreciate sort of the lulls and the bants of doing that attendance figure. I get why they did that, and it's got people talking, and in that respect, it's a good thing. But the downside to it is that everyone knows it's a false figure, and everyone knows clubs, tend to exaggerate or bluff their figures a little bit. We all know that, but now you just won't believe anything. And that's a problem. So say we get a crowd, the Phoenix get a crowd next week or the week after, probably not going to happen, but say we get 27,000 and we say, yeah, we got 27,000. Who's going to believe that? No one's going to believe that anymore, because they're just, they're just lying. Because everyone lies about crowd figures, don't they? It's like, well, not everyone really lies about it, but such a blatant lie like that is sort of annoying because it means now that no one will believe anybody's crowd figures. And even you start looking back. I mean, last week Auckland played in the rain, and they got something like 14,000. And I was looking on TV and thought, it looks pretty empty there. But I thought, oh, well, they say 14,000, I'll take their word for it. No, I'm not taking their word for it anymore. I don't know whether it's 14,000 or whether it's 10,000. I'm not sure now. It's lost my trust, not just in them, but probably in any club now, saying, yeah, we got this many. So, yeah, it was a good joke, good marketing, but a little bit annoying.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to the next derby, obviously, which will also be in Auckland. First up, though, we have the next match is at home versus MacArthur. I believe that the 12 Pubs of Lockheed is also on at this time. So if you're attending that, please drink plenty of water. You want to be able to show up to the actual game. So, yes, MacArthur. We're currently 7th on the table. MacArthur have been quite hit and miss. I think we can beat MacArthur. Anyone have any other ideas about that? No.
I think Yakalish has been their most dangerous player. I think he's leading the line with their goals and assists. So, if we can shut him down, looking at the rest of their team with the goals and assists, maybe Jed Drew, plenty of assists, but it's kind of just those two players. I think if we can shut them down, we pretty much render them ineffective. Looking at their previous matches, a 2-1 win over Sydney is pretty good, but Sydney have actually been losing to those lower sides. They lost to the Mariners last night. So, it's hard to take any games or any wins against Sydney with that much of an impetus. But I think we can definitely beat them, especially at home.
I think we have to be looking at beating people like MacArthur at home. They're going to be hovering around the top 6, I reckon. They're a decent side. They've got some decent players. But, we expect to be a top 4 side, I think. We're at home. And as you say, Jackalis has been very good, but, we should be better than them. They beat Sydney. Sydney were only at 10 men. And last night, Sydney had 10 men as well, which makes Sydney lower down the table than I think they probably deserve because they're a pretty good side. I would like to see us being a bit more attacking. Like see maybe Rojas get a whole half, depending on his fitness, and really working on getting that ball forward a lot quicker. Maybe we'll water the grass a bit more.
All right. So, 5th on the table. Looking forward to MacArthur. Stay safe at 12 Pubs. Let's talk about the more encouraging result of the weekend. Yesterday we played Brisbane Roar. They've been high-flying. They have been second on the table. Really, really good. They were missing Tamika Yallop and Sian Fryer yesterday they would be playing for the Matildas, where they've been doing very, very well there. So I'm very glad that we were missing them. At Porirua Park, 2-0 win, 2 goals to Flea. How do we feel about it? I don't think any of us actually managed to attend. Shout out to the people who did actually go to Auckland and how somehow made it back to Wellington to actually attend this game, because there were quite a few people, but obviously it's easier said than done, especially if you can't get a good flight. So for me, I think more than anything, this was quite a physical game. Sometimes it seems like a wrestling match. A lot of fouls. Brisbane started getting quite irked by some of the fouls. At one point, I could hear the Fever on the broadcast going like, Brisbane's lost the plot. There was lots of good banter there. Flea was on fire. I don't think we played particularly well. There were defensive mistakes for every goal that was scored, but it is what it is. Any thoughts? Who watched it, Danny?
Yeah, look, it's a really good result. Brisbane were top of the table, and to beat them, they had a couple of players missing, but even so, I thought it was an excellent result to get that. And I actually quite enjoyed the match, and I was about to say this at half-time. I was about to put on the chat that, I thought I enjoyed the match, and I thought we played really well. And then everyone kept coming in and saying, that was a bit terrible, wasn't it? It was a bit physical, a bit scrappy. I thought, I was quite enjoying it. I think maybe I was in derby mode from the day before and just enjoying the tackles flying in. But I thought we fought really well against them. There wasn't a lot of clean play, as you say, the people getting stuck in, but I thought we did pretty well. And we seemed to put a lot of play together. Again, they were decent. They got behind us a couple of times in the first half down the edges. I mean, their goal was just pure pace from Pringle. She just completely outpaced McMeekin and Yaber and outfought Daisy Brazendale to put the goal in. I thought it was a really excellent goal, to be honest. But yes, disappointing from our behalf. But bringing the new girl Kelly on in the second half seemed to fix all that. They didn't get behind us in our backs in the second half. Okay, yeah, defensive errors got our 2 goals, but, we had the shots and they went in. And, we had a couple of other options as well. Alyssa Wynnum, who I thought had a really good midfield game. Not the usual Alyssa Wynnum, just little touches setting stuff up. She was really getting stuck in. She was like a proper all-round midfielder with tackling and battling and putting balls off. I thought she had a very good game. And, I thought we did well. Yeah, we didn't look as silky and fluid, but then no one did because, as you said, it was getting a bit physical. But the fact that we came out on top and scored 2 goals to their 1, I think it's really promising to think that, we can go up against some of the better sides in this division and come out with a result in the end.
The first goal, was it offside? Really? Because it looked very, very close.
It looked close, but it's hard to tell when you've only got that one angle.
Yeah.
And the lino has the best view of anyone, so... And we'll take it, even if it is.
Yeah, because there was a chance that Brisbane had really early on where they got in behind and, looking back on the replay, it was pretty clearly offside and they missed it and we scored ours. I guess that's kind of the difference between the teams on the day. I thought we were winning a lot of those second balls more than in previous games. One thing I want to touch on is Alyssa Wynnum, and you mentioned it, Danny. She had a brilliant game in the midfield. Her one kind of caveat is that she can't finish, and she drives the ball forward from the midfield. She'll pass it to someone else, get it back, and it'll just go wayward, and it'll happen 3 or 4 times in a game. I was thinking about it before. I was saying that if she played in the men's team and Chiefy was her coach, she would be in a role that didn't require her to finish, and she would just be in a role that suits her strengths and a role where she can just drive forward from midfield and set up those chances but not get on the end of them. But in this system, she is in a role that requires her to get on the end of them, and I think that is causing us a lot of missed chances. I think it's kind of a bit of a tactical I think Paul Temple has kind of overlooked that in a way because, put Longer there and she finishes it every day of the week. I think we need to kind of fix that.
Yeah, I like to say that we took Brisbane Roar to the vet for some flea treatment. 2 goals for Longo. I think that she just, pure determination, won that match for us. Yeah, and there was a lot of talk that Brisbane Roar were missing 2 of their key players, but so were we against Adelaide. We didn't have Longo, and War was out Lake was out with injury, and we didn't have a replacement centre back come in, and we fought through it and we got that win. So I don't think it's an excuse that they can say you just have to make do with the players you have and adjust to that and win. I think the referee kind of needed to be a bit better at giving out yellow cards. A lot went unpunished. They were throwing our players around, full-on rugby tackling, barrel rolling them across the field, and nothing was happening. And then we got a yellow card, I think, for a shirt pull, and that was it. Just the one, something simple like that, when there was so much other stuff going on, and it kind of played to our advantage a little bit. We were still getting stuck in, and we were playing hard, and we were matching their physicality, and they didn't like it. They were getting angry. And I think one of the highlights for me was their striker, whatever her name is, Papa Denova or COVID Denier or whatever her name is. She got absolutely bodied by Mackenzie Barry in the first half. And she was on the ground for a while after that, and it was a clean tackle, and it was so satisfying to see. And yeah, I think Mackenzie Barry's back at her best there. She did very well at cleaning up in the back line. And I just, hopefully, we get better at picking up some of the through balls a little bit faster. I think McMeekin is relatively slow on the turn, and she's not the paciest of players, and so I think that Jaba needs to be aware that if she's beaten, that she has to come across and cover a lot faster than she did. I think she got stuck a little bit in no man's land there, either waiting to cover, hoping that Meakin got into it, rather than going to the ball and helping to slow that play down. I think that we could have done better to stop their goal, but we still won, so we'll take the positives from it and hopefully work on that against Sydney, who I feel like could punish us quite easily if we lack the focus and the determination to get to the ball first and to close down players fast, because we're good at the one-on-one defending, but we seem to be conceding a lot of our goals from through balls and the runs in behind the season. So if we can get to the ball first and slow the play down, I think that we should do well against Sydney. I also want to point out as well that Brisbane Roar centre back, I don't think she was very good. I think Varley was the one who gave the ball away. I think she kicked it straight, or she held the ball too long, and Ferguson just won it off her too easily. And I think she was the player in the second one who kind of headed it towards goal, or tried to header it away and then missed it, and then it slotted into the corner. So, yeah, I think that's a weak point for Brisbane is Varley there in centre back. I guess you can say she's not Varley good.
Just wanted to just say, I think what we're really missing is a finisher. We seem to be at the moment. We've got no one to really finish those goals. Ferguson has a lot of energy, but doesn't seem to have that knack of just being there to tap them in. Jale hasn't really played out wide yet. I would quite like to see her playing in the centre to see what we can do there. But I keep thinking, if we had Speckmeyer here, we'd probably have got a few more points than we have already, because I think she would put some of the goals away because she's good at that. But also, how good Maya McCutcheon. Certainly in that first half, she was just a beast. She was everywhere, getting stuck in, winning all the tackles, setting up, the around the box, putting the balls in there. And in the second half, I think she was probably told to sit back a bit more, which sort of blocked off a lot of their attacks as well. And it's almost like, we could really do with two of her. One sort of playing attacking midfield and one playing defensive midfield. She's really good pickup. So I don't know who's doing the recruitment in that respect, but they've really picked up a really good player that way.
Yeah, I think it was a game of two halves, really, where Brisbane were probably the better team in the first half, and I think we were the better team in the second half. I think the adjustment we went at the back helped, where Zoe, who is very free-ranging, and that's one of the really great parts about her, but it does mean that she can be absent sometimes, and I think that's where they took advantage, where they scored that goal where Zoe had pushed up and then nobody came to close Pringle down. So I think the adjustments we made in the second half definitely made us the better team. So we definitely deserved a win out of that. So we're 8th on the table. The next match we have is actually against Melbourne Victory away. Victory are second on the table. They scraped past Perth last night with a 1-0 win with the goal scored in stoppage time. However, they were missing Gilnick and Chediak because they were also on Matilda's duty. So those players will presumably be back, which makes it a lot tougher. I would love to get a draw out of this. I wouldn't be too hopeful for much more than that, but you never know. Any other thoughts?
Going to be a really tough match. Again, as you say, getting anything out of it would be good. It's a match to really focus on our defence. So Temple needs to work out what his best defensive structure is and the best players, and if that means Kelly starting from the off, then maybe so. And I think we need to set up midfield defensively as well. That's not sound very exciting, and it probably means we won't create many chances up front. But I think realistically, that's how we're going to have to approach the game.
Yeah, I would be happy with anything, even a slim loss, because that shows we're on the right track. I think going away to Melbourne Victory is even hard. It's always hard. Sorry, we hardly get any wins over there, especially when they're in the form that they're in the moment. Alana Janczewski has been really good for them this season. She's been kind of, I think, a bit underrated. I interviewed her once on the Impetus podcast, and she's a really lovely lady. And along with, Gilnick and Chediak, as you said before, they're really dangerous, and they've got a lot of threats that we need to kind of mark out of the game. But with Chidiac, you can't really mark her out of the game, especially in the A-League. It's really hard. So, I'll be happy with anything, as long as we don't get smashed.
Yeah, we have a pretty tough next 3 fixtures: Melbourne, Victory, Sydney FC, then Melbourne City. I don't know if you could draw a worse 3 in a row than that. So I'm really hoping that we can go to Melbourne, play a really good games, stay confident for these next few games, because I'd hate to see this kind of, be a turning point for us where we suddenly lose all the momentum we've just gained from 2 good wins.
Yeah, we've seen that a bit in the past, because I think the women's team are more confident players than men tend to be. And, after a few, unfortunate results, we saw that last season, we just completely slumped and it pretty much killed our season. So I guess, we can only hope that doesn't happen here.
Well, the Vic Knicks will have a turnout to that, so go and join them if you are in attendance. Otherwise, we will see you next week to discuss the matches that happen on the weekend and review the matches after that. Thank you for joining us. Take care. Bye.